So today is December 18th. I want to go to KOH in this thing. I want to drive the 1,600 miles to King of the Hammers and take this thing out ripping. So I need to leave on January 26th. So I have just over a month to 4-link it and finish a cage. And I'm worried about the 4-link. Time, just in general, time is going to suck. But I'm mostly worried about some part that I need that's going to be back ordered like several weeks. So we are going to disabandon the cage idea for now, tear all this out, and we're going to start a 4-link. So I built some lower control arms. I have some bypass shocks from Carbon, and I have some leftover 14-inch coilovers from a Ranger I used to own. So we're going to 4-link it with all that stuff. Hey, buddy. What do you know? What idiot put this bolt in that direction? So you got to take everything apart just to get it out. It was me. I was that idiot. Check out my lowrider. Got the axle sitting on the frame. She's freaking slam, man. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. It really not. It ain't not bad. But take a look over here. We gonna party now.
Yeah, that smoke is as thick as bugs on the bumper. They even had a bear in the air. I says, calling all trucks, this here's the dub. We about to go another bear.
So a little piece of design that just kind of happened beautifully and a little bit accidentally is, so I'm using 1 3/4 tubing. So like this top width right here is 1 3/4, and this is 1 3/4 here, which gives me, the flat side plates. Well, in doing so, that makes my shock mounting width 1 3/4, and standard shock mounting width is 1.5 inches. So I bought the Rough Stuff Specialties Fix-It weld washers, and so they protrude out the side, or towards the inside of my 10 gauge side plate steel, giving me a shock mounting width of 10 thousandths over 1.5 inches. So that's going to work out like really, really well. It's going to give me a lot more bearing surface for the bolt. Yeah, just kind of beautiful accident, I guess. It is time to close this baby up. Ka-chow. I don't know why, but I build things now, and I really enjoy seeing, something I built on CAD come together. And now it's sitting on the bench waiting for final weldment, and I'm just dreading it. I'm not looking forward to it at all. I'm just, look at all those joints. I don't even want to do that.
Oh, where to go, or say we're wrong, daydreaming. A whole new world.
So just getting a look at what things might look like. One thing to note is I don't have the frame C-notched yet. I'm gonna put about 2 inches of C-notch, but this is axle on frame bump, and this is just kind of mocked up about where it's going to sit. And one thing I'm looking at is ground clearance is going to be pretty abysmal at full bump here. But I guess if you look back over to my brackets on the front, we don't have a whole lot of difference in ground clearance, and I don't smack those off the ground all the time, so let's just assume we're going to be okay. So what you're looking at is a picture of the frame that I've uploaded into Fusion 360. It has my proposed upper and lower link mounts locations. So using that, I'm able to kind of throw some dimensions and start trying to figure out my anti-squat value. Right now, my anti-squat is at 91%, but there's a whole lot of ifs and maybes in that. So this line right here represents my 100%. So we're going to say the front is to the left here. And so this would be the bottom of the rear tire and the bottom of the front tire. So this line right here represents my 100% anti-squat line, but it is contingent on the height of the center of gravity. This line right here that's highlighted. And I don't actually know what the height of my center of gravity is. So I'm just using a old-fashioned rule of thumb that says it is at the center line of your camshaft. So me saying I have a 91% anti-squat value is not very accurate, because the center of gravity is just a shot in the dark. I really don't even know what I'm shooting for as far as a good anti-squat value, but just reading on the internet, they say go fast desert style rig, you want to be under 100%. So this was more or less me just putting in some rough measurements just to make sure I'm not at like 150 or 200% or 5%. I am in the ballpark. I really don't know what I'm doing at this point, and I think I'm just gonna have to run with it. So this is that original picture I took, and this is my bracket. I don't love it. I really, really don't love it. But it is what it is, and we are going to run it for now. Let's get rid of the canvas. It makes a little more sense. Ka-chow. All this bracketry is going to be 3/16 thick, so it's all nested together. And then the axle side lower link is going to be quarter, because it is going to take some abuse down there. So I had some friends play some jokes on me last night, apparently. So we got ding-dong ditched last night. Freaked the wife out. I couldn't care less. Figured it was kids being kids. Got all these brackets here. Obviously, I'm going to do some grinding. And I just happened to notice this little guy hiding underneath there. I'll admit, that would have been a good one. And this is the second time I've done this, where I plasma cut a hole that was too big for the bolt size I was using on a really critical suspension component. So, plug, weld, sand, and hand drill it is. Oh, so tight! And so we have 4-link mounts. I still don't love my design. I am happy with the execution of building them, which is usually the complete opposite. I like my design, and then when it comes time to actually building it, I do not like it, and I think they look like junk. But this time, execution good, design bad. Haven't decided if they're just being bolted on or bolted and welded on yet. We'll get there. fill in the C-notch here, we're going to use some really fancy material, just some 3x6 rectangular tubing, and let's make sure we cut the seam out so we don't have to look at that. How about that? Now we have all the bump travels. I like. Myself, man, I hope all this work's going to be worth it. But one thing to consider is, okay, I just gained 2 inches of bump travel just from a frame notch. And my other axle won't have this big bump stop pad. That's about 1 inch. Factory bump stop, that's another 2 inches. So really I should have about 5 more inches of bump travel. So that's not going to be usable. I'm hoping I can set the ass end of this thing down, give her a little Carolina squat. But, you know, I mean, hopefully it's all going to come together. I'm out at my dad's house here looking for some treasures that I buried years ago and could not find them, but we finally have spotted what we were after. This took me a while because he decided to build Tire Mountain on top of them. Oh, we've hit pay dirt. Well, we don't need the front end for this project, so I think that's a good out of the way spot for now. Hydraulics are just a beautiful thing. Shoot, man, Paso uptown now. He's got skidders with windows, automatic garage door openers. Ooh. Shop I learned to do it all in right here, boys. Well, we got the old Niner thrown up on the workbench here at the shop at my place of work. We'll just leave it at that. Place of work is between the farm and home, and I don't have a torch at home or a plasma cutter, so I thought I'd stop in here quick and strip this thing all down. But one thing I'm looking at right here is when I stored this beautiful treasure away years ago, I don't remember that Grandpappy, not Pa, but Grandpappy must have put a truss on here because he was getting a little bit too cowboy. This was a full ranch pickup, boys. You should have seen it. It got crushed, and it did the world a favor by getting crushed. But we'll get this stripped off tonight and maybe check how straight it is. And I don't know how much time I got. It's probably like 8:30 at night. Still got a 30-minute drive home, and got to change the oil in the old 5.0. Oh, the torch was the correct choice because grinder work will be minimal. Starting to look a hell of a lot better. Must be getting late because, quite frankly, my dear, my give a damn is busted. Let's roll this guy over. This side looks okay, but oh, Grandpappy. Yeah, he had some good times in this old girl. I don't think, you can't quite tell on the camera, but there is a pretty good dish right here. That was a dinger, boys. But if you're wondering why the hell I'm going through all this trouble for this rear end, just know that this actually is the rear end. Wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface is 65 1/4, the same as a stock Bronco. This is the double ribbed N case. Pretty decent. Also, 31 spline axles and the big bearing Ford. So that dinger right here I was telling you about, it's going to be a problem. Got a nice crack there, and the mating surface for the case is not flat at all. The weld out procedure from DIY Off-Road on this rear axle truss basically wants you to tack weld it, everything onto your axle tube, and then finish welding it. I do not want to do that. I think my method is going to be better. So this edge right here, that is a lot of weld. There's just a whole pile of weld. By the time that you heat that up and it shrinks, this thing is going to be shaped like a U. And if you did that while it was welded onto the rear end, I almost guarantee you'd end up pulling your rear end. So I'm going to tack weld the entire truss and finish welding it out on the table and then weld it onto the rear end. And one thing I'm doing to combat the fact that this will warp. No matter what I do, I don't have the equipment to make this not warp. Okay, look at that, yeah, so it warped way more than I thought. See how it's touching there? Big gap there. Touching, big gap. Yeah, it warped way more than I thought it would. But if anything, that goes to prove that you should not tack weld that onto the differential, because that warp you're seeing there, it's just going to transfer that into the rear end. So we're going to use the gratuitous amounts of gravity that the good Lord gave me and see if we can get this thing straightened up before he set it on the axle. Much better. Well, she ain't straight. I don't know if it's a game, but she ain't straight. Called everybody in the area looking for a truing bar. No one has one, so we're just leveling one tube to the other. Turns out it was a little bit bent, so I got her sitting flat right now. We're going to put the truss on. It's scary how easily this bent without the center section in. This C-clamp's not giving her the hoo-cha-cha just yet, and it just went real easy. So yeah, see what happens. Well, she's kind of welded on there. I put a 1/2 degree of preload into this, and I was running out of clamps, so it just got welded to the table. But the ends are welded on, and the centers are welded up pretty good. So I don't want to make this overhead weld right here, just to beep, 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 beep. So I'm going to cut her all free, see how much it moves, and weld her out. I'm calling that a win. The other night I was kind of getting with it and my phone died and I just kept pushing forward, so we missed a few things, but really all I've done is bolted on the 4-link brackets to the frame, mounted the lower links on, and I played around with getting my housing centered in the frame with some temporary links. I'll have to play with the links on those to adjust my pinion angle, but right now they're serving a purpose as keeping the housing centered on the frame. One thing I'm playing around with right now is where this Heim bracket needs to be located on the axle tube this direction. I need enough room so that the shock doesn't rub the frame, but I also can't push it too far out, because then under flex, where if my axle housing, if we're under flex and it's flexing this way, that's going to bring the tire into the shock. So if the shock's right there, the tire's going to lean up into it. So I need to get that just right. Using a stock width axle, there's not a lot of room to play with here, so this has to be perfect. Oh, here, let's give you a visual, a full bump here, all the way up. As you can see, things are pretty tight. I had to put a notch in the cross member of the floor there to make everything clear, and that is about 3/8 of a gap from the very top of that housing to the floor. So I really didn't want to go through the floor, so I'm glad I didn't make my notch any deeper than that. Keep in mind, everything is just mock-up at this point. So you can kind of see that notch I had to make to get all that to clear up in there. Frame side brackets. And so let's see if we get this angle right. This is like the floor pan where the backseat passenger's feet rest. And there is not a lot of room. It is about as tight as a guy can get it. So I am happy I stopped with my C-notch, because we're at the limit of going through the body everywhere. So I'm happy with that. I still have some room between the shock and the tire, so I just need to flex it the other direction, make sure the shocks don't hit the frame, and shock mounting locations are set. So today is Sunday, January 7th. I got 20 days to make this a completed running, driving vehicle, and I am getting worried. I'm getting burnt out. I'm not enjoying it like I normally do. It's usually most fun is building it, but having this deadline just makes it feel like work and pressure and anxiety. And anyways, yesterday I thought I was going to get a whole pile of this done, and I was just burnt out working on this every day after work, and I needed a day to myself to not think about a Bronco. So I'm regretting that today because I'm looking at it, wondering how in the hell am I going to finish this out? Let me just take you for a little spin so we can show you what we're talking about. So, yeah, we got to make this a completed, running, driving, sealed vehicle. The little things can wait, but, yeah, we got to somehow make this thing run and drive in the next 20 days. And I am really concerned about that. You know, back ordered parts are one thing that I'm concerned about. I try to plan, order parts months in advance. They say 2 or 3 weeks on a part. If you call them, they tell you 2 or 3 weeks. So you wait another 2 or 3 weeks and you call them and they tell you another 2 or 3 weeks. And I am just pissed off about it. Even at work, ordering parts for anything right now, everyone lies to you. And I'm sick of it. Why can't they just tell you it's going to be months? It is getting old. This COVID, excuse of supply and demand and all that. I don't care anymore. Don't lie to me. So I'm sure everybody else is in that same situation. Yeah, so that's preventing me from getting my rear axle together. And there's just a million other little parts and doodads that I should have, but I don't. So yeah, today we are going to put our nose to the grindstone and get as much done as we can. Today's goal, I'm going to finish this cage. I'm going to drop it down, finish welding it, put under the body tubes in, put it back up, hopefully get it welded to the frame. That's today's goal. I'm not going to film anything. I hope I can actually get further than just doing the cage. Depends whether or not I have to drop the dash to do that. But I'm not going to film any of this. I'm probably not going to film a lot of other little finishing stuff on like the 4-link and maybe stuff there. We'll just talk about it at a later date. I just don't have time to film. So we are just going to push as hard as we can today and probably even the next week or so. And I'll see you in a week or so with some updates. Say goodbye, darling, please. Don't stop to cry. Cause you know I got to go. Lord, I wish it wasn't so. Say tonight.
Touche, get the party jumping, keep the hotties humping. I like them thick and juicy, so don't Pilates nothing. Drinking too much, Lou, you might be karate punching, or at the back at the club attending the naughty luncheon. Fat, Kool-Aid get you hella.
Man, this rear part of the roll cage, if I was able to build a racer back where a bar just went straight down like that to the corner, it would look so frickin' bitchin', especially with the B pillar kind of like having a little rearward lean to it. It would just look frickin' mean. But gotta have headroom for the guys in the back. Of all the wreck I've got going, hey, at least I got some organization somewhere.